Hey guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Advisory Board podcast, where we bring in experts from the franchise community to give you actionable insights and advice that can help you to build a long-lasting and memorable brand. And I think I couldn't have picked a better person to do for that latter part of building memorable brands than having Bennett Maxwell join us today. And those of you who don't know Bennett, he's kind of the mastermind behind the Dirty Dough brand, and you're gonna see why I wanted him on, because we're gonna talk about some fun stuff with him. But he's built and exited solar company. He built Dirty Dough up to 75 units sold, with a bunch more opening this year. And Craveworthy brands snatched them up because they were an excellent concept. So fun things about Bennett you should know before we jump in and let him tell you about himself is he's careful. He's into jujitsu, pickleball, really physically active, but also got a lot of, you'll see it, but he's got a great energy about him because he's also really into kind of mindset, and had some really early success with the solar company, and figured that there was actually a lot more important things to focus on in life other than just making money. So I think you'll find some great insights, some depth that you might not have expected. Also lost 125 pounds in the last 3 years, right?
Yep, that's been another journey of itself.
That's crazy. 3 kids, married, so great looking guy. Sorry, ladies, he's off the market. But tell us a little bit, Bennett, just a little about you, about your journey, and then we're going to jump into our topic after that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Utah. Turns out we're just down the street from each other. So Orem, Utah, one of 9 kids, hustling with a bunch of, brothers in elementary and junior high, just selling whatever we could. That led to a Mormon mission, 2 years in Tijuana, which was great sales training, and rejection training
Yeah.
more than anything. Then I got into the door-to-door world, which was, move out to a different city every summer, knock doors for 4 to 5 months, sell pest control or home security or whatever, um, which was great. It was all commission. So it's like you're an entrepreneur, right? And then if you want to be a manager, well, go ahead and be a manager. You just have to recruit and train. But if they don't sell anything, then you don't get paid. So that was fun. Led me up to solar. Started a solar company with my brother. That was pretty short lived. Somebody wanted to buy it after 18 months. So we sold, and I had just purchased Dirty Dough. It was one store, and I was trying to run both things at the same time, and that was hard. So went all in on Dirty Dough, and it was fun, exciting, crazy, stressful, all of the above. We started franchising. Our first franchise opened up in June of 2022, and by July of 2022, we had opened up um, right around 100 locations plus 20 food trucks. And then we'd
Wow.
sold 450 or so in the first 2 years.
That's crazy. That is crazy. I feel like the stats I read off might have been a little aged. I think I said 75. That was way off, dude. So, and you guys, and the crazy part of it, if anyone who was paying attention, if they've heard of like the cookie wars, there was like some really warm marketing going on all up and down the valley as you guys were in your like hitting your stride and growing. And that's really like that's at the core of what we want to talk about today, which is how do you lean into the pressure and the challenge of what's going on and actually see an opportunity and then leverage it, right? It's almost like you said you're in jujitsu, but like I've done a little bit as well, but like someone's leaning and you use their leverage to flip them around, right? Like it's judo, same sort of thing, but it's a great mindset. And I'm wondering if maybe, Ben, if you don't mind, let's start off with you just sharing a little bit about that situation. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. I just happened to have a little bit of an inside track with you at
Yeah.
Springboard that one year. So tell us about the situation with you with Dirty Dough that kind of turned into a catapult for you guys.
Yeah. So this was in May, I guess, of 2022. So right before we were opening up our first franchise, um, we got sued by Crumble, and we're like, crap. So the month before that, April, we were getting ready to open our first store. So we put up some billboards on the Interstate 15, which is really the only highway in Utah. And
Mhm.
we just happened to be, kind of across the street from Crumble. So we put up some, Dirty Dough coming soon, digital rotating, you're spending 2 grand a month on a few billboards. Then the next month, when they right after they sued us, or sorry, right before they sued us, they threw up, 50 grand worth of monthly billboards, right? Like every third billboard was like, we're the number one restaurant company in America. And you're like, crap. Anyway, so they sue us. And I'm like, I just had calculated that on one of their billboards that said 1 million cookies a day. Okay, well, what does the average cookie sell for? And then you times that by 365 days. Shit, they're $1 billion company. You know what I mean? And they're suing us. So nothing like I got the lawsuit, stomach drops. You're like, crap. The first thought was definitely like, I don't have money for this. like, shoot, I just lost all the money I spent buying Dirty Dough. I think, like, what am
Right.
I going to do? Then I read through the lawsuit and I just, I'm like, I don't know how to read a lawsuit. I don't know legal language, but I could tell you that this doesn't make sense. Like, you can't sue a company over the shape of their box and then include your trade dress in the lawsuit that says we do not claim the shape of the box on this mark. So, like, they're specifically excluding it on the documents that they're suing us on. And I'm like, what? So, anyways,
Uh-huh.
it was kind of like, whatever, we'll just fight it. 6 weeks goes by, and in franchising, if you get sued, you have to disclose it, right? You have to disclose it on your FDD,
Right.
every potential franchisee. So it's like, crap, we're just gonna have to figure this out. Well, and then KSL, a local news article or news station, picked it up. Crumble suing Dirty Dough and Crave Cookies. So then it's like, crap, it's out there. Might as well stay on top of it. Like, I
Yeah.
could either answer all the questions individually or I could just do it on social media. And then the way that I wanted to do it was like, it's a serious topic, but it's also like, it's cookies, right? Like, it's not that serious. So I started making fun of it. Like, hey, Crumble suing a startup, $1 billion company suing a startup over sprinkles because they listed sprinkles in the lawsuit.
Hmm.
That we use
Right.
sprinkles and so did they. And I'm like, well, watch out, Granny. If you use sprinkles, they're coming for you next. And I think that was, and then I don't know. So it just was a lot of like snarky remarks on that. Then I threw up some billboards in response to their billboards. We put cookies so good we're being sued, and it had like a blurred out cookie image that said censored, like it's a pornographic picture, in Utah Valley. Taste or taste buds. So man, I'm forgetting them all now. It's been a little bit. Let your taste buds be the judge was another one. Or cookies don't crumble with competition.
Yeah.
That was fun. Then if anybody's seen the squatty potty video of like a unicorn pooping out rainbow ice cream that went,
Yeah.
tens of millions of views. That the same guy that directed that hit me up. He's like, hey, I want to do some videos around this lawsuit. So then we did videos with him, which was like what it would be like to be in the boardroom of Big Cookie Co., Crumble when they decided to sue these small companies. So we just had a lot of fun with it. And then it got us on, I don't know, probably 100 news articles across the nation. But the big ones were CNBC and Good Morning America. And then
Yeah.
Crumble didn't respond to even a single interview. So I controlled the narrative the whole time because I was the only one that would talk to the
Talk
media.
about it. Yeah.
And then everybody like, it's like David versus Goliath. And I was very upfront. Like I would address every single comment, any accusation. And then I broke down the lawsuit into like a 13-part series. Like, here's their 13 claims and here's why they're all BS,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, that openness, I think, really got people interested in the drama, but also like supporting the smaller company.
Yeah, I went and personally, just as somebody who at first I had no idea what was going on. I started seeing these billboards popping up, and
Yeah.
I was like, "What is this cookie war thing going on?" So then it became called it was called the cookie war.
Well, we
What
threw
used to
those
be it.
on our billboards. We put hashtag Utah
Cookie
Cookie
war.
Wars,
Oh,
and
that's
then
where
that
so
kind of
that's
took off. So yeah, that was the
yeah.
first. That it was the billboards that started the Utah Cookie Wars.
Yeah, I want to take you back a minute though, because you said something that I think is critical, and I want, you know, it's easy, guys, to get into chest beating mode. Like, hey, this ended up really well, going really well, but a lot of franchise brands, when they're getting started, the lawsuits come out. Someone's like, "Oh, you don't have the IP to do that. Oh, that's my trademark. Oh, this is anyway." Some of that stuff is scary, and you mentioned like your stomach sunk, right? You felt like, "Uh-oh." I think that's a pretty natural human response, and I tell people this all the time. Like, you have to decide in those moments, those "uh-oh," stomach sinks into your kneecaps kind of moments of, are we going to get bitter or are we going to get better? Right? Like, how
Yeah,
am I going to shrivel inside myself and be like, oh no? Or am I going to say, all right, well, how do we leverage this? How do we learn about this? How do we improve? How do I apologize if I just screwed something up? Whoops, let me go clean that up and take care of the mess. Like, I was really impressed with your decision, right? Because you made a decision as an organization, as a leader, that you weren't just going to take it on the chin and be scared and close up the shop. That was classic big boy legal firm trying to bully somebody, right? That's really what it turned out to be. And I'm not trying to just disparage anybody by saying that, but it happens all the time. People are like, hey, rather than buy them or do this, let's just scare them, and let's just shoot a shot across the bow, really. And in this case, you leaned into that. So, how did your team feel about that? Your executive team, your management team. It wasn't huge at the time, right? But how did your
yeah.
partners and people feel about you guys deciding to do that rather than acquiesce and try to make it go away?
Um, I mean, I was definitely the one that was most for it, and that's why we did it, right?
Right.
So, not that anybody was like, "Don't do it," other than some legal counsel. Not that I could tell you what legal counsel is, because then it breaks attorney-client privilege. But
For
whatever.
sure.
There's a lot of like, "Oh, I wouldn't do this because this attacks the issue head on." Like, don't do a video that talks about sprinkles when that's like actually in the lawsuit. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. That's all I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about anything that's not directly in the lawsuit. So my kind of comeback going into this, it's like, okay, attorneys know everything, right? You look up to an attorney, you pay him $500 an hour, and you're just
Mhm.
like, yeah, these guys seem they don't know business. They're not business owners, so they can give you legal advice, but you shouldn't take business advice from someone who doesn't run a business. Generally speaking, right? Like, yeah, they could give you some good advice, but they don't know marketing, they don't know PR. Why am I going to take their advice? So they would give me their advice, and then my response would be, okay, but is it illegal to do what I want to do? And if the answer is no, then cool. Thanks for your advice. I'm going to do what I want to do though,
Yeah.
because it's me. And I think it also made it a lot easier. Like before that happened, just 3 months before I started getting on social media.
Yeah.
So that helped kind of already establishing a brand presence. And then when it happened, I was kind of already out there a little bit more. And then I'd already done core values, mission statements, and like I've already, I guess I already pre-planned what am I going to do when shit hits the fan? Because it always hits the fan. And we attack problems, with lightheartedness. Like,
Mhm.
don't, I forgot exactly what I put in the core value, but we're not surprised by problems or challenges. It's funny. Like we get into business, we know there's going to be challenges, and then a challenge hits us, and we're like, oh crap, what's going on? And it's like, what? No, you're supposed to expect challenges and then embrace them and have fun with them. So going back to like my mission statement, Surratt, is all around joy and fulfillment, despite life's dirtiness. Don't wait for life to be perfect to have the joy and fulfillment.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to apply it here. Like, what's more fun? To go out on social media and make fun of this? Is this going to cause more joy and fulfillment in my life? To pay these guys to do ads? Is this more joy and fulfillment or less?
Mhm.
And measuring my decisions based on a mission statement and an emotional goal seems to be a lot easier than what might make me more money. It's like, but am I in it for making money or am I in it for joy and fulfillment? I'm in it for joy and fulfillment. Let me just skip right to that when I'm measuring my decisions.
I absolutely love it. And you said something important. You got legal counsel. And remember, spot on, because I run into this all the time with professionals. Like friends are like, "Well, my doctor said," I'm like, "That doesn't make any sense. If your doctor said to go swallow three pebbles from your backyard, would you
Yeah.
do that?" Like, no. Like you're supposed to. Like, he's practicing medicine, right? These are practicing attorneys, but they should be giving you counsel. And then it's your decision what you're going to do with that counsel, right? Like you have to use that as an input to make decisions. And like you did, lean on them to say, well, am I going to get, is the FCC going to come after me if I do this? No. Excellent. Thank
Sweet.
you. Thank you. Yeah. I can only imagine what those boardroom discussions were like. And your attorneys probably walked away thinking, oh crap. Or actually, oh good, this is going to generate some more opportunities for us to help save his butt. So, oh my gosh. So tell me a little bit about reframing, right? Because you guys that was a strategy you guys took. So when things get hard, and I love the transparency. One of what we share that core value, or at least that personality flaw, that there's no reason why you need to hide things. If you guys would have decided not to share or not to lean in, not to be transparent about the suit, and I mean the transparency of the suit was actually something that I think embarrassed and made the suit eventually go.
It was the number one reason for them to really, I mean, in my opinion, right, for them to get rid of it was the public opinion and the public pressure. I mean, you could go count probably 10,000 comments of boycott crumble over that.
Yeah, and it's not that we want to damage somebody else, right? But it was that the damage was being thrown at you guys, and you just deflected it, and it almost inverted, right? It really
It did. And
became quite negative.
the issue is it inverted to the franchisees, though, the crumble franchisees. They had nothing to do with the
I
lawsuit.
know.
And I
Yeah,
spoke with dozens of them,
yeah.
but they're the ones, especially in Utah, that got affected the most. And it's like, no, that was not the intention. And anytime somebody on social media on like, oh, I'm never gonna go to Crumble again, I'd like if they're commenting on something that I said, I would always respond to them and say, Crumble has one corporate store. It's in Orem, Utah. All of the other ones are a local franchisee that have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Like, don't not support them because corporate made a bad business move.
Yep. And that's classy. That's just classy because it wasn't the intent. The intent was like, let's take them all down. It was like, let's deflect the bull crap and let us get back to work. But the fact that you leaned into it, you created kind of a phenomenal like following, and you got a lot of social buzz. What was the net effect on the business growth?
Yeah, we were off to a good start. So we'd franchised in December. This is May. So it's been 6 months and we'd sold about 60 units. So we were going good. From May to the end of that year, we ended with 290. So we sold another 230 in the next 7 months. So that's and you know the net impact was several $1 million in franchise fees, some good publicity and PR and brand awareness. Um, but there was also a lot of negative. Like now you have to go open up all of those, and we opened up 50 stores in a year. We that was really hard. So like at the beginning when you said 75 stores and I said 100, it's because we opened 100 and we closed 25 stores.
Mhm.
So it's like that was super hard. Um, Half of those were corporate stores that were like, yeah, it's just we need to double down and focus on supporting franchisees. We can't also run this many corporate stores. So there was a lot of hard things as well. But the net
Uh,
impact, I don't think there is any amount of money really. Like if you would have given me $5 million and said, hey, go sell 450 franchises, not many people could do that because, yeah, I mean, this was just that everything came together in the right time in the right way for it to blow up. But I do also, I don't know, people are like, so Crumble's lawsuit was like the number one thing that exploded you. And it's like, kind of, I
it
wouldn't
helped.
say that. I would say my response to Crumble's lawsuit is the number one thing that propelled us because
Mhm.
they sued tons of other companies, including the article, like the first article that said Crumble is suing two cookie companies. It was that two cookie companies, Dirty Dough and Crave. Crave didn't lead into it. They didn't do anything with it. So it wasn't the fact that we got sued that it helped us. It was that we got sued and we responded.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've not actually followed up on the Crave. Whatever happened with Crave? Like so they didn't lean
It,
into it, didn't push on it at all. I'm sure it went away, but
yeah, from what I understand, and I know Trent, I haven't spoken with him a little bit, but the owner there, they're around 14 locations. Maybe they opened a few more and then they've closed a few. I would guess that they're, still below 20, we went from one to opening up 100. I think they opened up another handful, which is totally fine, but it was a lot worse for them because they still had 300K in legal fees, just like we did. But
Mhm.
we collected several $1 million in franchise fees and they didn't. So
Yeah.
it was a lot harder for them to battle it because of that. But, that was their strategy. And maybe, the thought is if I'm public with it, I don't want to upset the bully. I don't want to upset the $1 billion bully. But it's like, who cares? They're already suing you. Like,
Yeah.
if they could have sued me harder, they would have at the beginning. It's not like they're like, oh, we're gonna do a little lawsuit. No, like their intent was to put me out of business. Like they're not.
Mhm.
So let's respond and let's see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it just goes back to the point, right? You can the reason I asked about Crave was it's kind of a case study, right? I love it when you got an A/B story, and maybe it could have been totally different. Maybe that worked out just the way they wanted it to, and this is not meant to be disparaging at all. Just it's an interesting thing to observe when we see you leaning into it, really being transparent about it, and having a little fun, like living up to your core value of like, hey, we're gonna what did you call it? Joy and fulfillment. You're gonna
Mhm.
find joy and fulfillment even though this is a really crappy thing that you're dealing with right now. And that mindset shifted the energy around the whole situation for you guys. So I appreciate you sharing that. And how did you get to that core value, that joy and fulfillment being like important in your business operations? Because I don't know if of the 100 plus people I've had on the podcast, I don't know if anyone's ever said those two words. Like that's one of my
Yeah.
purposes in running a business.
Yeah. So I sold the solar company in 2021. And I had this goal. So I got up to 310 pounds. That was not my goal. My goal was to be a millionaire. I
Uh-huh.
don't know why. Like, it's just like, that's what you're supposed to do, I think. I don't know. So it's like, hey, I want to be a millionaire and I want to do it before 30 because it sounds good. Well, I sell the solar company and I achieve it. And it felt great. Like you check your bank account, you're like, yeah, this is awesome. You like all the hard work. But the issue is what causes you to feel good? Dopamine, and these other uh, neurochemicals. And the issue is there's only so many in your brain. So like I feel good when I eat something good, but that dopamine needs to reset back to zero. That way I could feel good when I sell my company or when I smell a flower. So like human biology is you're not supposed to hang on to these wins. It's like everything's going to be perfect once I just figure out my life. And it's like, no, it's not. It's going to be perfect until the dopamine goes back to zero. So then it's okay, let's not go for dopamine, I guess. Like that can't be the goal, or otherwise every time I get it, it's just going to be fulfilling and then empty. And I think we've all experienced that because unless everything's perfect right now, like every time we've ever set a goal and achieved it, it did not give us the lasting happiness. So, we don't need to look outward. Let's just look inward. We've never done it. So then what are you after? I think it's joy, and I've chose joy over happiness because it's like you don't have to be happy every day, but having a joyful life. There's going to be ups and downs. If you're smoking weed and super high and happy all the time, is that enough? That's where I got fulfillment from. I'm like, no, you want to be happy in your life, but also happy of your life. So happy in your life is your happiness on a day to day, or your joy on a day to day. Happiness of your life. So if you're smoking weed and super happy all day, like you're happy in your life, but are you happy of your life? If somebody said, are you happy with where your life's going? Maybe not. And you need both of those. So I just kind of transferred them to joy and fulfillment. And then I threw in despite life's dirtiness because it has to be now. It just didn't make sense to me that I sacrificed so many years of being with my wife and my kids on the nights and weekends so I could work harder so I could be with them later. And I'm like, what? It's like, I'm not going to eat my dinner now so I could eat it in 6 days. It's like, well, how about I just eat dinner every night for 6 days? Like, I don't need to sacrifice anything now for anything later. And then I threw, so joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness in myself and others. So you have to figure out yourself first, then kind of move on to others. And it was for the longest time, like I'm a logical person. I don't trust intuition. I don't even know what it is. I don't know what emotions are. And then when you really analyze, like, what do you want? It is only emotional. That's all we want is an emotional state. So what I should have done is I want $1 million because I think $1 million is going to give me more free time, which then I'm going to go on vacations with my kids and my family. And when I'm with my kids and family, I'm happy. I just never put it together. Like if I would have just said, my goal is to be with my kids and family more so I could be happier, I could have realized easier I could just do that every day. I don't need to work past 4 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, game on. That's such a great insight. And I love that you're pulling the biology of neuro, like the neurotransmission in our brain into the whole story too, because it's true. A lot of people chase, and especially salespeople, right? You're like
Mhm.
constantly chasing the next buzz you get off of closing the deal, and sometimes you're not going to close them. So then you're not getting that, and a lot of people burn out, crash and burn because that's the only thing that motivates them. And solar's been brutal, right? So if they switch to solar,
Yeah.
they don't sell anything. They feel like they suck and the world's falling down around them. Like it's you're looking intrinsically or extrinsically at your values and your self-worth, and that creates problems. Great,
Yes.
great insights. Great insights, man.
Like door to door, you start every day at zero. So it's like if I don't sell, I didn't make any money. And then sometimes you not only don't have any sales yet, but you have a cancellation from the day before. So it's like, crap, I'm at negative $1,000. I haven't even done anything yet. Um, and if you judge the success or failure in each store based on if they bought, that's a really hard thing to do. Like mentally, it's just gonna be really hard. If I judged success and failure based on who I was becoming and if I was becoming a professional communicator, then it was easier, right? Because Dave told me no, he doesn't want it because I'm the fifth solar guy. But if I could change my pitch to when I talk to Dave's neighbor, I knock on the door and say, "Hey, just got done with Dave's house. I know what you're probably thinking. That I'm the fifth solar guy this week." The only thing I know he's not going to say is, "Hey, are you the fifth solar guy this week?" Like they're not going to repeat that back to you, right? So as long as I'm adjusting my pitch and saying how am I becoming a better communicator, and progressing, then it doesn't matter if I sell because maybe I don't sell anything for 2 days, but I'm sharpening the saw, so to speak. So now maybe the next 2 days I'm going to sell five and kind of make up for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll share that soundbite with my nephew who's out selling, shifted from solar to pest control because it was
Okay.
just killing him. But he's a good sales guy. You guys would get along. You talked earlier on, and then I want to come back to this about building kind of a playbook, right? A growth playbook that's rooted in transparency and scrappiness and long-term vision. Oh, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, franchise owners, even developing, growing, and big franchise brands still want to have kind of that transparent, scrappy, long-term vision plan, right? And I think you've got a great idea of how to pull it together. So share some insights with us if you don't mind about how do you do that? Like, what does that plan look like? How do you pull it together? And then how do you execute on it? That's one of the
Yeah.
hard parts.
So the plan at the beginning was we're going to do a centralized production model to, take advantage of economies of scale and then ship them out nationwide. But the only way for that to work is if you did a lot of stores, right? You have to have volume on that.
Mhm.
So knowing that going in, it wasn't something like, I open up a store, kind of see how it goes, open up another store, see how it goes. It was like I bought this company to franchise it and go nationwide. So that kind of helped. Like that was the goal. So and then as we're making decisions on like which warehouse do we get, which machines do we get, we were always benchmarking it against, 100 locations, 200 locations, 300 locations. If it doesn't work for 100 locations, let's not throw it in for the 7 locations that we have right now.
Mhm.
So really having kind of that end point in mind. And how do you define that a little bit more? I mean, yeah, you're doing, a 5-year projection plan and kind of seeing where you want to be each year. As far as the transparency goes, I think that's the easy part after you start doing it. Maybe it's hard to get out to start doing it, but like I don't know, man. That's been a really good decision on like there's nothing about my life that you can't find online right now, like about psychedelic uses, about traumas, about I mean, just everything. And it's very freeing and very opening. There's nothing that I'm ever trying to hide or go behind somebody's back. And I think a lot of it comes from, I mean, I'm new to the industry. Maybe I recognize what I don't know. So if I'm talking to the franchisee or an employee, rather than like, oh, here's my plan in the background, and I'm gonna just not do your plan, or whatever. It's open communication. Hey, this is what I think would work better, and this is why I think I want to do this way because I'm trying to avoid this problem. If you could come up with a better solution that still avoids this problem, I'm all ears. But that does create more of a transparent or like open communication style with everybody in the team.
Yeah.
Um, Jumping on and like, oh, sorry guys, I did that wrong. Taking accountability, or I don't know what the hell I'm doing. All of those things I think little by little add up. And then being on social media, being on podcasts, being able to talk about the lawsuit 100 times, like people like that. People like when you only tell them the good stuff, they don't trust you. That's what I think in sales. So like I purposely will plan things in my sales pitch, whatever I'm selling, to give the downsides. Like glow tanning, that's what I'm selling right now. Glow tanning is great. 15 years in business, 0 closures, average store on their item 19, 300,000
Mhm.
plus dollars. However, that's no guarantee that you're going to succeed. I
Mhm.
don't have to say that, but as soon as I do, we connect at a different level. You already know that that's no guarantee that you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
I know that, but I need to express that. And then you're like, okay, this guy's honest with me because, of course, even with 15 years in business and 0 closures, there's never a guarantee that I'm going to be in business. So I think putting out and addressing the negatives, whether that be a lawsuit or anything,
Mhm.
helps people connect with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. And sometimes they'll connect with you deeper when you try to like almost you unsell them, right? Like, look, these are reasons why from what you've shared with me, I don't know if this is the right solution for you. You're just trying to be
Yes.
transparent and
Yeah.
honest with them. But emotionally, and this isn't manipulation. I would never approach it that way, but sometimes you force them to stop and think for a second about what do they really want, right? And if the reality is like, no, actually, I really want this, and this is going to be good for me, and this is what I want to do, and you're being super transparent with me about what the problems are going to be, like I think people feel really comfortable. Like you're saying, they trust you because of honesty. And well, actually, well, we'll talk about that later, but that's a book I'm outlining right now because I find the world needs that a little more, and it works better. It just works better for everybody.
It works better to not go around thinking like, oh, what if they find out that I'm in a lawsuit? Like that's a better way to like I have so many leads and man, I just hope they don't find out that I'm in a lawsuit because I don't have to disclose it just quite yet. It's like I've
Yeah.
never even tried to address that or played that game. It's just like this is exactly where we're at and this is where we're going. If you want to be on board, be on board. And it a little bit, I guess, is to clear my consciousness of like I record every sales call, make sure that we're doing everything right because you're putting your life on the line a lot of the times to buy a franchise. And statistically speaking, there will be people that lose everything when they buy the franchise, and it's just going to happen. So
Mhm.
how do you not so much prevent that, obviously try to prevent it, but at least be upfront so people understand the risk. And the risk is, yeah, they lose everything, and then you keep on living just like you did before, and it's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
It's more emotional stress than actual, it's not like we're ever going to be unsafe, but it's kind of navigating all of those waters.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But there's also your reputation. Like I was a bit of a scallywag growing up, and one of my grandmother's dying wishes, what her dying advice to me, this is no joke. She passed me on the cheek, and she's like, "You look so handsome without your facial hair." And then she says, um, "You need to guard your reputation because that precedes you everywhere you go." And she said that to me because I was the grandson that got suspended for fighting in high school. I got arrested when I was in
Yeah.
college. I went to BYU and got arrested for stealing road signs. Like, again, transparency, I think, is king. Somebody eventually will find out about that, and I'd rather lean into it and let them know because it's funny when you tell people about things like that and they judge you against what they currently know about you. They're like, "Nah." I have people tell me like, "I don't believe you." Like, oh, for sure. No, that was for sure me. Just any one of my teachers, my principals, they'll all collaborate. All
Yeah.
my friends. My friends tell me like their parents wouldn't let them play with me when I was a young teenager, but it doesn't matter. The point is like the transparency aspect of it helps people trust you. They realize you're not hiding anything, and I love that. And executing against a transparent plan as a leader can sometimes be hard. You gave an example of how you approach that with a franchise owner because franchise owners they feel like even if you're not, they feel like corporate's holding stuff back, right? They feel like
Yeah.
the home office team isn't supporting them, and they're looking for excuses to validate that idea in their head if they're struggling. It's somebody else's fault. How do I make that a reality? But I love the way you approach that of saying, guys, like this is how I think we should do it. But do you have another idea? Like, let me listen to you too, because sometimes, and back me up on this if you've seen it, the best ideas come from the floor operators.
Yeah. And it's really, who cares whose idea it is, right? It's just, here's the problem. This is my suggestion to solve it. But it's more like, I just want to solve this problem, right? Who cares about how we solve it? It's just, here's the problem. Who's got the best methodology on that?
Mhm. Agreed. Some of the best development ideas we've ever gotten have come from, franchise consultants or franchisors operating their platform. Like there's no pride for us to say, well, we didn't come up with that. I'll even
Yeah,
tell people if, Harper gave me a cool idea and we built it. I'm like, that came from so and so. Like, I think it's actually a badge of honor that people trust us enough to give us feedback. So it's anyway,
absolutely.
big part of how to run an operation that's successful. Bennett, if you had a couple of words to share with a growing brand that's struggling, maybe they don't know how to implement a change like this, going from closed door strategy to being a little more open, what would you advise them to do to start to make the shift?
Yeah, I mean, having a personal brand, that's where people are going to get know you as a leader more than anything. Like, yeah, you could be on phone calls and you're going to meet your team here and there, but if you have a personal brand and you're sharing your journey there, people, one, it helps you define what your journey is, right? Like that, the more I talk about the same story, the more I refine it and the more it sounds good and the more it becomes clear to me. Like the first goal that I had for Dirty Dough was 30 stores in 5 years. Then it was 100 stores, and then it was $1 billion. And all of those, anytime I've always been very much against, like, I'm going to hold my goals close to my chest, maybe out of, embarrassment if I don't achieve them or for thinking that I could do these crazy things. I had to get past that. Then I was very public about what I'm trying to do and the goals, not just the finance side, but we had that clearly defined. But it was also, what am I trying to achieve on my personal life, which is the joy and fulfillment? Because yes, that's my mission statement. But if you go to Dirty Dough's website, that's Dirty Dough's mission statement as well. Finding joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness in yourself and others. So getting out there, I mean, defining it and then getting out there. Sorry,
Good.
defining it and then getting out there and really sharing that from a personal brand, throw it up on your website. Like, everybody should know where you're at and where you're going on social media, on the meetings, on really everything. And then, I mean, how else are they supposed to help you get to 100 stores if they think your goal is 200 stores? Or what? And if they think that you're going to stop at 100 stores, but you're really going to stop at 1,000, they're going to recommend a software that only works for 200 stores, right? So really, I don't know. It is scary to even say like, oh, I want to go this big. And then it's like, but once you get out there, then you have more heads to accomplish those goals.
Mhm. Yeah, love it. Well, make the change now. Bennett, you've been fantastic. Thanks for providing such great comedy for us on YouTube with the Cookie War videos, but also just the personality, sharing some of the challenges and the transparency and how that's helped you guys a lot as you've leaned into challenges. Been amazing. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dave.